If you're drowning in manual, time-consuming, and tedious tasks, today we are diving into solutions just for you. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner Podcast. I'm Dylan, I'm your host, and today, guys, we're talking about automation solutions, how they can help you, and what are you going to do with this whole AI thing. Now, after completing $1 billion worth of projects, automating solutions with Cowabunga Studios, and now working with design build electrical contractors, I've experienced the whole gamut of what you go through and firsthand how much time can get chewed up into these kind of just time consuming and tedious tasks, right? The low level task of placing receptacles, lights, basically all your elements within your Revit model to design out the building and everything that goes into a project, right? Putting drawings together. And all these things need to be done, right? A project cannot be completed without all of this equipment, all these devices being placed into your Revit model, right? All that has to go into the model. If it doesn't, it's not going to work, right? The drawings aren't complete. So when we have all these tasks that just like have to get done, there's obviously a few ways that you can go about this. And for a lot of firms, this is like the kind of ultimate problem that they're chasing, right? Is you bring people in, you train them, they get elevated, they get pay raises, and then you're putting them in front of clients or managing projects or getting them to solve big, tremendous problems. But basically you're arbitraging, the fee that you charge for the project and the cost to get it done and to not have any errors on the project in the meantime to get it out and get paid. So in this you have, this is the ultimate arbitrage of a engineering firm or any design firm. This is the price you charge to do drawings and the cost to get it done. But this is the same across all of construction, right? The dollar rate you charge for a person's labor and ultimately what you pay them, right? That's the delta between the two, and that's the profit margins of the firm, right? At whatever percentage that you have, 15, 18, 25%, that's again up to you, your firm, what you're willing to take on a given project. So with this, we have a lot of choices. How do we do that, right? Do we just keep getting guys out of school? You're paying them 60, 70 grand a year plus benefits, and whatever those benefits end up looking like, probably 15 grand between, again, all the overhead that you're going to have with them. So you're paying probably 6 grand at least, if not more, 10 grand in health insurance. You're going to pay just for equipment, software, whatever, another 5-6 grand a year. So weighted salary of that given individual ends up being, again, you pay them 70 at base salary for an engineer right out of school, plus 10 grand for healthcare and another 10 grand for equipment. You got a weighted salary of $90,000. And then if we use the rule of thumb of 2,000 working hours a year, it's 2080, but we just say 2,000 for easy math. Then you're paying $45 an hour, right? That's the pretty simple math. If somebody makes 90 grand over 2,000, 45. So you have a weighted cost of $45 an hour, and then you end up charging, let's say, 100 bucks an hour, and then they're going to be valuable 80% of the time, right? 20% is just in overhead meetings, admin, training, what have you for that given individual. So really you've got $80 an hour that they're going to be worthwhile over, again, their life of the year. So we end up having, a little less than that, $30 basically to work with as far as profit goes per hour worked. Not a whole lot over, again, for a given person. So we got work that needs to be done. We're trying to arbitrage cost with it. And how ultimately do we get this out? Because we do need people, right? You need people to review the projects. People are ultimately responsible for the projects. As engineers, we stamp the drawings. So we're taking ultimate responsibility for the designs that we put out into the world. So somebody has to be looking after it. Somebody's got to do QA, QC, and somebody's, again, taking responsibility for that project. What some firms have done is outsource stuff to, overseas operations. From pretty much everybody that I've talked to that's done this, whether it's India, Brazil, wherever they might be outsourcing folks to, there's a big language barrier, a big communications issue, and it ultimately frustrates a lot of folks in doing that. So they end up either pulling it back in, or they just cause a lot of frustration for their US based team, who ultimately has to clean up the drawings to deliver to the clients. So that doesn't seem to work out too well for, again, most everybody that I've talked to. I don't know anybody that's been like thrilled with that type of operation. There might be some that have had tremendous success in it. And, again, it wouldn't be done if people weren't having success with it somehow. So I think there's a way to make that work. But again, you're going to have to overcome a lot of other barriers to that. And is that a problem that you want to overcome, or do you want easier communication, easier training for guys, that are in your office, and you're able to just walk over, deal with the issues, and leave it at that? Or do you want to put more time and effort into training, into breaking down those communication barriers, into dealing with a overseas team that you're, again, never going to be able to walk up to and like, hey, do this right now, right? You have typically like a 12-hour time zone difference, so they're on a complete opposite schedule as you are. And again, you have a communication and language barrier to overcome. Again, somebody's done it somewhere, so it can be done. Just, are you willing to put up with that pain? So this is why most everybody ends up falling to automation, right? We're seeing obviously the rise of AI and automated tools and automated prompts and automated everything else, right? When it comes to Revit and design tools, Autodesk has basically put up that kind of wall between a lot of it, in that the API for Autodesk is kind of on its own. You got to be running a local version of Revit, and most all files for Revit projects are going to be private, right? This is not public data. Revit files aren't just out there in the wild, and so these large language models can't consume all of that content to then basically put a AI solution around Revit production. So you got to have solutions that are built specifically for Revit to populate your devices, which is what we've done at Cowabunga Studios, is to automate device placement within a Revit model. Again, being an electrical engineer, automated for electrical engineers, the placement of light fixtures, receptacles, switches, panels, fire alarm devices, and then all your low voltage devices as well. So all that content's going to be automated across your model. But the questions that I like to ask folks when they come to us here at Cowabunga Studios to look into automation is like, why do you want to start automating? Right? What are the real problems that you're trying to solve? Is it because you've had a hard time hiring? Is it because you haven't met deadlines? Is it because you're looking to reduce costs and grow the team, basically grow the number of projects that you can do, grow your profitability as a firm? And again, the answers can be yes to all the above, right? That sounds great in all the above scenarios. So it's really understanding, like, why do you want to automate this stuff? Not like, oh, this is bright and shiny and this is the greatest thing ever. And it is, but like having a true understanding of why you want to do this, what it's going to mean when you implement it, and what you're going to see on the other side. The other one is that when you're testing it and validating automation solutions, is what are your metrics for success? Are you just trying to see if this is faster than, a person doing it? Like, of course, it's going to be faster than a person doing it. Like, there's no doubt in anybody's mind that a computer placing devices throughout an entire model is going to be faster than a person. Like, it will, hands down. Then is, what other metrics are you looking for, right? If you're just looking for placement or how well it places, like, okay, but what are you comparing it to? What are your metrics that you're going to set up to say, yes, this checks the box. Hey, this is obviously, faster. We know what time it takes on a given project to do this. as a person, here we ran it with, the automation solutions. So, hey, this thing took 10 hours. This thing took 10 minutes. Great. We just saved 9.5 hours. Okay. Now, do you have a dollar amount that you're going to put against it? Is it $100 an hour, $200 an hour? What's your weighted cost that you're going to put against this for billable hours for a person versus the machine? And then you can go from there, right? So if it's 9.5 hours times 100, right, it's $950. So pretty easy math to do there. How many projects do you do a month? Oh, you do one a week of those. So times 4, let's just call it $1,000. So you save $4,000 over a month for this, right? And if you do that over a year, that's $48,000 saved. Pretty easy math to do, but you've got to have all these metrics in place to understand what your return on investment is. If the solution costs you 10 grand, you save 48. Well, you just netted a delta of $38,000 a year, right? Those are the pretty simple back of the envelope calculations that you can do to justify the investment on something that's going to save you. Again, you put in 10, get back 48. That's a pretty good deal. You do that every day, all day. So, which goes to like the budget question, right? Do you have a budget for it or time allotted for it? But if you just went through this ROI calculation that we did, then you're like, well, I don't really need a budget for this because I'm going to save all this money on the other side for it. So it's a no-brainer from that standpoint. So again, you don't really need that budget. If you see that the ROI is there, it's a pretty easy investment to make. You're going to recoup your costs. And even if you do it in the fourth quarter, you're going to gain all your money back on that as well. So again, have a plan to measure your ROI on any investment that you make, what you're going to get out of it, and go from there. The next thing that I want to talk about when it comes to investing in automation is, okay, you've made the decision that you're going to do it. You save a whole bunch of time on it. And now your folks have all this time left, right? If they were working a whole bunch of overtime and now they're not, well, that's a pretty simple thing, right? Hey, you can go home at 5 o'clock instead of being here till 8 most nights to get projects done, right? That's a pretty simple thing of like, what are you going to do with your extra time? Well, I'm just going to work a normal 40-hour week instead of 60 hours a week. So that sounds pretty good. On the other side of that is, hey, everybody was working 40, 45, nothing crazy. And now we might have some days and some times where they're working 30, 35. So what are we going to do with this extra time? That's something that you want to start thinking about when you implement automation. Because if you're going to save all this time, then your team's ultimately going to have just more time available to them. So what are you going to do with that extra time? Do you have training in place? Are you going to put them in front of clients more often? Are they just going to live a better quality of life? From personal experience, typically the more deadlines that you have, the better everybody performs. Now they can't do that forever, right? You do need a ebb and flow of projects and, deadlines, and do really great. Then you can cool off a little bit. Then you go again, right? And you have this oscillation between like go hard, rest, go, rest, all that kind of stuff. And that's honestly in training, that works out pretty well too. So I want you to think about when you invest and start implementing automation solutions, what are you going to do with the extra time that you ultimately have for your people? I highly recommend training and to start basically putting them through more training, developing training for them for different elements, getting certifications for different, whether that's like a control system or generators, or start picking other pieces for them to get, certified credentials, take a course on. It's going to make you, your firm, them a whole lot better at all of this stuff, right? They can advise your clients better. They know more products. It's going to make everybody a lot happier. You get to do some fun stuff every once in a while. So when we implement automation, we have all this other time. We need to replace it. So think of what you're going to do there for it. Because again, at the end of the day, that's what automation is all about, is replacing all the kind of low-level tedious tasks with higher-level tasks of design, recommendations, client interfacing, and ultimately winning more projects. So when you start to implement automation, think about all these things, your metrics for success, what your return on investment looks like, how you're measuring that return on investment, if you want budgets or not, or what you're willing to put into it. Again, if you're going to get that money back in time savings and everything else, then it's pretty much a no-brainer. But also, again, what are you going to replace all that time with when you do start to implement automation throughout your firm? So when you're more productive, when everybody's doing better, what are you going to do with that time? That's a big question to answer. And that is this episode of the Construction Corner podcast. Until next time.